Hi, I'm Nicole Hunt. I'm a lead UX researcher and I head up research projects that are impactful. Let's talk about some of the tricks I use to get my research results implemented. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's so good to see you all again. Today we're going to talk about how to get stakeholders to implement your research findings. This is going to be part of a series I'm starting called Impact Labs, and in this series we'll talk about ways to make a bigger impact with your UX research. We're going to dive into what the life is like of a product owner so we can empathize a little bit with them, understand what their life is a little bit, and doing that will help us help them, and by doing that we'll be able to get our research results implemented. Most of the time, I find that if research isn't getting implemented at the end of a research project, there's a problem upstream. It's not always something that's happening at the end of the project that is the problem. It's things that are happening earlier on. I think occasionally there's a problem with your report where maybe it's not actionable enough or your stakeholders aren't sure what solution to pick for the pain points that you found during your research. But I think most of the time the problem's upstream. It's kind of like if you've worked on e-commerce or with sales funnels at all, where you have like a paid ad that will lead the user to a web page that's a landing page that will try to get you to do something like buy something or sign up for something. If somebody's not buying something, a lot of times there's something going wrong earlier in that sales funnel. It's kind of similar to what happens in UX research with our stakeholders. So in a sales funnel, maybe sometimes the ad, there was a mismatch in expectations from what the ad was saying versus what the landing page says, and then the user doesn't buy because they're confused. Sometimes similar things happen in our UX research experience with our stakeholders. One of the people that I work with a lot is a product owner or a PO. In one of the teams I work with, some of my POs will act like a product manager. So a product manager is often seeing like the big term strategy of a product. They're looking a couple years in advance. A product owner is more like day-to-day things, and they're making sure that everything gets rolled out on time. So the process that the average product owner is going to go through is first they're going to prepare and write stories for the developers. Then they're going to monitor current stories, and that involves like answering developer questions, supporting developers, things like that. And then once those stories get launched, they turn them on in the live product. They're going to check on how did those recently completed stories go. Are we having a bunch of tickets come in for it? Was there a bug that got launched into the live product? Things like that. So those are kind of their main responsibilities. There's some other things in there too, but those are the main things that your product owner is looking at. Just from being a non-product owner and looking at a product owner and working with them, here's my take of what like the life of a product owner is like. So one of the things they need to do is they need to translate business needs into developer speak. So this may sound easy, but in my opinion, I think it can be kind of challenging. So both of my parents, both of my husband's parents, and 3 out of 5 of my husband's siblings who we interact with a lot are all software engineers. They're all developers. So I have a lot of developers in my life, and I can attest that developers kind of speak their own language. They have a different way of their brain working. Their brains work differently than mine. And I'm glad that they do, because we need somebody to code and write software, and I'm grateful for people who have brains that work like that. So I found that working with my parents, my husband's parents, my husband's siblings, translating things into the way a developer understands or like perceives the world, or the way that their brain works, takes a lot of knowledge to do it well. It takes practice. It's not something the average person is just going to be able to do automatically. And product owners have built this skill over time, and it's a skill that I think should be respected. You have to balance, that PO is gonna have to balance customer needs, business strategies, technical knowledge, all at the same time. And I don't think it's an easy thing to do. I think there's a lot of moving parts that our product owners are doing. And if you've ever coded something, even if it's vibe coding, which is, more popular now, if you've ever coded something, you may find yourself tempted to do the easy way, do something the easy way instead of the way that's going to make the most sense to the user. The person who is often the gatekeeper for something like this is the product owner. They're the person that's going to say, nope, we're not coding it the easy way. We're going to code it the way that will make most sense to the user. They're thinking about the customer. And I personally think that this is why sometimes when me as a UX researcher, I'll start working with a new product owner, sometimes they'll say to me, I already know what the user wants, like I don't need your help. And I think one of the reasons they say that sometimes is because in their realm of influence as a product owner, they're the person who knows the most about what the user wants, and they're the person that's closest to the user. They're the ones that are receiving the star rating data. Sometimes, I know in our setting when I work with product owners, we'll have a star rating survey that goes out routinely on the product, and there'll also be like an open response section. So they're reading stuff from users. They're also the one receiving complaints from users sometimes. Sometimes it gets is a ticket that goes to devs, and sometimes the product owner receives that. So they're the ones that are looking at that data regularly. And so a lot of product owners feel like they know what's going on with the user. And I would say in their average everyday work, they do know the most about users. So we need to keep that in mind when they say, I know what the user wants. To an extent they do. We just have the ability as UX researchers to give them even more information about what the user needs and what the user wants. So some of the things a product owner is thinking about and some of their responsibilities are budget. Are they staying on budget? Are they making sure that they're using developer time wisely so that they're not having to spend a ton of money to build something? Developer time is expensive, so they're trying to keep things under budget. They're also trying to meet their timeline deadlines. So they're trying to do things under budget, within timeline, and then they're also trying to keep leadership happy. I've worked on a lot of enterprise modernization projects where we're taking a legacy enterprise product and then converting it to a modernized product. And so in those situations, we're looking at, in these settings when I've done this, we have a tech side of the company and then a business operations side of the company. So a product owner is gonna, in situations like that, they're gonna be looking at a business operations leadership, keeping them happy. And then they're also gonna be looking at tech leadership, making sure the tech leadership is happy. So we have a product owner that is juggling a lot of different things. We've gone over a couple of things that a product owner does. I think it's helpful to understand where the product owner is coming from, because I found that I work with them a lot. A product manager, some of these things we've talked about will also translate over to product managers as well. As a UX researcher, we'll work with product managers frequently as well. So there's some overlap there. So the things that we should keep in mind as UX researchers when we're working with a product owner as a stakeholder is my research creating more work for the product owner? Nobody wants someone to come in at work, boss them around, take up a few weeks of their time and put a bunch of meetings on their calendar and expect them to just add all these extra tasks and get them done. Nobody likes that. You wouldn't like that if someone did that to you at work. I wouldn't like that. So we want to make sure that our research is not doing that to our product owners. They have a lot of other things going on. They don't usually have time for something like that. So another thing for us to keep in mind is, do they have time to do the extra work that maybe we've put on their plate? Is there a dev budget to even do that extra work? And by extra work, I mean implementing research findings. Also, does the PO even know what to do with your results? Does your product owner understand what the user points are and what the next step is going to be? So I think all of those things are important to keep in mind as we're looking at how to get our research findings implemented in a UX research setting. The more empathy we can come at our stakeholders with, the more we can work as a team and make our users' lives better, make our products better, and I think that makes us more effective. Okay, so we've talked about our product owner, what the average life of a product owner is going to look like, some of their main responsibilities, which of course will vary from company to company, but we covered the main stuff from my experience at least. So what do we do with all of this information now? My biggest recommendation is to focus your UX research projects around things that the product owner is already planning on doing, and add value, add clarity to those existing projects. So look at things that are already on the roadmap, they're already planning on having developers build something. Ask how you can clarify things for them. What questions do they have about those projects and those stories? And how can you offer help to them? That's going to be the best way to make sure that your UX research results are getting implemented, because there's already a plan in place to put those things into the product, and you're just adding clarity to what's already on the plan. I highly recommend doing that. Make sure that you're staying within the timeline that the product owner has, so that once the devs are assigned those stories, they already have the UX research results as part of those stories. That is my biggest recommendation when you're working with the product owner. Just building your UX research projects around what they already have going on, offering yourself as a way to help them, to bring clarity, to just offer an extra set of hands and become a teammate to them. That's what I really recommend.